It's not just radio, it's Rockland World Radio. RocklandWorldRadio.com.
Hello everyone, welcome to Dialogues with Dan here at the Nyack Library, and today I'm speaking with Nancy Rhodes once again. I'd like to introduce Nancy Rhodes, nurse practitioner.
Hi everyone, my name is Nancy Rhodes. I'm also known as Ann, that's my legal prescribing name. I have been a nurse practitioner for 22 years doing house calls in Rockland County, New York, and took care of over 4,000 people. And I also worked in home care for a number of years, and just recently published a book for caregivers called Caregiver Success. I found that doing house calls and taking care of people as they were aging, everyone seemed to run into the same problems. They would either fall and fracture a leg, or they would, because of the bad shoes, or they would get a skin tear and they didn't know what to do with it, or they ran out of their medicine and they didn't know.
All important things. Before we go into the book, Nancy,
Okay.
maybe you could tell us about your nurse practicing, like maybe the highs and lows over the years.
Okay, so running a house calls company yourself and dealing with, insurances and calls in the middle of the night and day and night, 24-hour gig for a long time could take a toll on you. I enjoyed it immensely, and I think I started putting together a box of pictures of my patients and stories and things that made me happy about the house calls. That was really fun to do because it made me start thinking that about 8 years ago that even when I started house calls, I needed to write this book. That people needed to hear good stories and good things and happy things that happen even as we age.
Exactly. And you're still doing the nurse practicing. Are you in Rockland, or do you also work other areas?
Well, I merged with another company a couple of years ago because I was intending on just spending time with this book and starting to do speaking engagements to help people get more help out there to stay well. Did you know that every day 10,000 baby boomers are turning 65 for the next 10 years?
Wow. And what does that mean?
That means that not only are we aging, but we have aging parents that are 80, 90, 100, and we're in our 60s, and our children are not launching because the finances are not there for them to leave and buy a house and move away. So we're in this like sandwich generation. And our parents are living longer. They may not be living as well, some of them.
True.
Some of them need total care. Yes. 1 in 4 of us are caregivers, and there's 65 million people in America that are giving care to the aging or the disabled right now. And many of them are even employed, and they come home after an 8 is left, and then they have the evening and the night to the next day, and then they do that all over again.
Boy. Yes, so what's your experience, your background? Your background with this? Were you a nurse, or how did you become one?
Okay, so I was a nurse first for many years in home care. I didn't really like the hospital setting. I saw a lot of things I could do in the home. It's neat going into the home. You could tell if someone's religious, somebody's a hoarder, somebody is poor, and they could throw me out, not like a hospital room, where they were in charge and say, don't come back, as opposed to a hospital. So I liked the home because I got to see the whole family, the whole dynamics, their whole lives, and I got to be a part of it. And they became a part of me.
Oh, that's great. So your clientele ranges from all different socioeconomic
Oh, yeah. And
Yes.
ages.
Yes.
We have some young people in 30s and 40s with some serious medical problems that they just genetically inherited, and they're just young, but they've got terminal medical chronic problems that need total care,
Right.
and it will be for the rest of their lives.
I see. How can people find you or get in touch?
Okay, so the book is called Caregiver Success. I am also on YouTube called Caregiver Success. I found that writing a book about things like how to make a bed with somebody in it is okay to write, but sometimes people like to see it because some
Right.
people do better by visual. So I started a YouTube channel also called Caregiver Success. My name's Nancy, the nurse practitioner. So look for Nancy the NP and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Let me know what you like on the YouTube channel that would help you to be a better caregiver. My email is nancysthenp@gmail.com. And I am going to continue to do videos every week so that I can try to do the best we can to reduce medical crisis, unnecessary hospitalizations, and suffering for us all as we're aging. Because there's going to be a lot of us, and we want to stay as well as we can for as long as we can.
Exactly. That's all good stuff. So Nancy, you spoke about some of your highs, and I guess lows might be what? A low?
I would say those calls in the middle of the night would get to you after a while. You don't ever get a break. Caregivers are supposed to be somebody who's taking care of somebody and giving them a bath and feeding them and taking care of them. But I found myself being somewhat of a caregiver as well because people counted on me to solve their problems and prevent them from having any problems like needing an antibiotic. I had to be available to take care of that.
So you work 24/7?
Yeah, there was a lot of referrals. We did home care referrals. We get a therapist, physical therapy, social worker, podiatrist, dentist to the house, an x-ray if they had a fracture or a pneumonia.
Wow.
A lot of people would come to the house. Even ultrasounds were done there, so we could tell a lot of things.
It's incredible.
And hospice.
Yes.
Everybody eventually gets older and older, and I've had a 106-year-old man that just passed last year. He was 106, but he had a gastrostomy tube, and it just got infected, and he finally died. But, he lived a long time with that, and
Yes.
we sign all their death certificates. We take care of hospice issues as well, and it's really hard on the family. The other part of a caregiver that's really important to mention is you're a caregiver 1 minute, and you've been doing it for years, and then the person dies, and then there's no more job.
Yes.
And it ends just like that.
It does. Could we take a break? So once again, Nancy, you were telling us about your book. Could you maybe say the title again and speak a little about it?
Yeah, so I named it Caregiver Success. I thought it would be easy for everyone. I have a website called caregiversuccess.com. I have a YouTube, Caregiver Success. The idea behind the book is to be a successful caregiver by learning tips and tools from an experienced nurse practitioner. And so I took things like cutting up men's socks to put on people's arms so that they don't bang them and get skin tears. And a lot of people's skin, as they get older, gets thinner. So men and women should be wearing something soft underneath their shirt sleeves. And you could just put a pair of men's really nice cotton sweat socks, and they just are cushiony. You cut off the foot,
Wow.
you turn the sock around, the heel becomes your elbow,
Yes.
and you wear the sock under. If the women don't like the way the sock looks, go to like a craft store and buy striped socks.
Yes.
Buy polka dotted socks. Buy any socks that make you happy.
Oh, very cool. Where did you get this idea?
I made it up.
Yes.
It's called a practical tip. You can put noodles for swimming in the pool. Those noodles.
Right.
Cut them straight down and put them on the railings of a hospital bed so you don't bang your mom doesn't bang her head on it, and they're soft. They could be purple. They could be pink.
Exactly.
Half of the book starts out talking about humanity and about the human side of aging. You know, we all wore bathing suits and we all looked different in 1945 if you were around then. And then you get older and you get as old as everyone else is going to get old. And just because it's an old lady in bed that looks like she's confused or whatever, you can't forget that she was a person too. She had fun. She danced all night. She had boyfriends and family and children and job and career and heartaches. And we're all the same kind of people. And
Yes.
at the end of the line, at the end of our lives, you know, the same things are going to all happen to us. And we want to have the best peaceful time we can have.
Exactly.
So the first half of the book is about the human side of aging. A lot of humor, a lot of fun stuff. And then the second part is all about medical problems, from constipation to congestive heart failure to hospice to dying. And it's just to help you get ready.
Yeah, which is important. People don't always think about what's happening, and it does happen. And I guess this could help not get caught without a way to go.
Well, you know, a lot of people are trying to figure out what they're going to do. I'm one of 7 children, and, you know, we're all in the 60s of our lives, and my husband's brothers and sisters, they're all in the 60s of their lives, and it's like a chessboard of life. You know, who's going to fall off the board first? You know, and is it because of disease or some other medical problem or what? I mean, our mother-in-law is moving up with us in June, and she's 87, and she lives in Florida, and she can't be alone anymore. So we're going to be taking care of somebody who could live 10, 15 years while we're in our 60s, and we could be into our late 70s when she goes to heaven, for all we know.
I see.
So you got to take care of yourself as a caregiver. You got to make sure you do things to put the oxygen mask on you first, like on the airplane, before you put it on the person next to you.
Yes, I've heard that. Yeah, Nancy, maybe you could talk about the world today and problems with the coronavirus, with the flu, and with the flu there's vaccine. But corona, there is no vaccine yet. Where's it going?
It's a good question. I know they don't know a lot about the virus yet, but you know, we all have to use the same precautions when it's something we don't know. You need to wash your hands a lot. You need to not touch certain things like doorknobs that everybody touches, or railings, or elevator buttons, gas pumps. You're supposed to cover them with a glove, or you know, wearing masks does not help us because they're paper masks and the droplets could actually go through the masks.
Oh, is that true?
Yeah. They will not help. The doctors need the masks for other reasons, so we're supposed to be better about that. Making sure you don't go in crowds if you're sick, and if you are sick, you should really stay home.
Oh, definitely.
And if you know the person you're going to see is sick, you shouldn't go in there.
Right.
So we all have to do our part to make this go away.
Exactly. Like they say, self-quarantine.
Yeah, self-quarantine, exactly.
Yes.
I take care of very, very many frail people, and they're the ones that are victim to this. Frail elderly, frail children, people on, you know, all sorts of medical problems with chemo, and they have to be careful because their resistance becomes low, and they can't sustain a virus that comes at their way. So they got to be careful of what they get exposed to.
Yes. So maybe you touched on it. Maybe you could elaborate about safety tips. You spoke about not touching door handles. Are there any other safety tips?
Well, the other thing was the touching of your face. They said people touch their faces more than 90 times a minute. And it's probably true, when you think about it, So if you can try to really not touch your face with your hands, which have been everywhere when you're out, and good old 20 seconds of hand washing whenever you have a chance. It's not a quick lick and a promise. It's supposed to be a good 20-second wash to really get a germ to disappear.
Yes. And so, Nancy, I'm wondering, your book, is it, it's only offered online, or did you get into maybe Barnes & Noble and other book outlets?
It's on Amazon. It's on an ebook. If people want to order the book, they can go to www.caregiversuccess.com. It's a 364-page picture book full of a lot of information of 4 years of research that I put together, of a lot of tips and pictures and stories and information to help you. I think you'll like the book. I think you'll keep it as a tool book in your house. It'll be something you'll look at over and over, underline, use it like crazy.
Exactly.
Not a one-time look.
Sure.
As long as mom's around, you need this book.
Yes. How about actually caring for yourself? Self-care. Are there tips besides self-care?
Self-care is massive. I think if you think about the person working all day and then coming home to a family member, and then they have homework to do with somebody, and then they have, you can't do it all. One thing we're doing when my mother-in-law moves in is we're deciding who's in charge of what before she moves in, and we're just not the total caregivers and everybody just visits. Because it's you have to make boundaries from the very beginning, or people can just kind of not really do much to help you. So you need to be very clear about your boundaries. Of course, we love her, but we want to have enough of us to go around so we can love her even more. Sure. So it's only fair that everybody shares taking care of mom. And she thinks she's a burden, and she's not a burden if everybody helps, so that we all can love her equally while she's getting older.
Is that a risk area where parents feel, I'm a burden?
Yeah.
And they're not the parents. You're doing for them just like they did for you when you were little.
Well, you know what the thing is? You have to make sure they feel like they have purpose and that there's something they can do. Even if your mom can't walk and she's in a wheelchair, who says she can't fold the laundry on the couch? Who says she can't help get her bath, comb her hair and put her lipstick on and wash herself while you're helping her wash herself? Who says she can't help cut up the onions in the kitchen while you're cooking dinner?
Exactly.
Everybody can help to have mom as part of everything she can give as long as she can, because she's part of the family.
Exactly.
And that if she feels that way, that there's something she can offer and still contribute, she'll feel good, and she'll feel confident, and she'll feel like she's not a burden, for sure. Which is big.
And this goes for dads as well.
Oh, anybody. A lot of times men don't seek networks and friends. Right. The women have do all the gabbing, and they do all the friends, and they know how to do that. But the men, if the woman dies first, they do have a problem with, what should we do now? It's really important to maintain your friends as you get older, at least one or two good friends. And there's nothing wrong with making new friends, because unfortunately our friends are going to pass away. True. And we could be very lonely because there's nobody around us. And social isolation is a serious problem for the older population and for the divorced population. A lot of Americans are now aging and divorced, and they're single people in their 60s and 70s, the gray divorced aging group. Right. And they can get pretty lonely. So you got to keep your friends. And you got to make more, and you got to have hobbies, and you got to get involved volunteering or something in the community to make you feel like you're important.
Yeah, would you say that you have to also realize that the child's only purpose is that they're living their lives and they have to balance
Yeah,
helping
exactly.
mom, but not feel that that's their only purpose. But they have to live life.
Well, the other thing is maybe like in our situation, we're having another family member move in with us to help us with mom,
Yes.
so that we're all there together, and then maybe we'll move someplace a little warmer in a ranch type of house so she doesn't have to do stairs, and we can stay there as long as we have to without moving again. It's hard to renovate a house that's like a high ranch or a 20 steps up,
Yes.
or turning your dining room into a bedroom,
Yeah.
It's better if you kind of think ahead. Downsizing is another thing that we have a problem with. A lot of people just don't want to get rid of that stuff. If it's been in a box in the basement for 5 years, you didn't use it anyway.
True.
Just take it to Goodwill or give it to your best friend who loved it all these years and just get rid of it.
Exactly.
So I also just want to make sure you know that, now that we are on social media everywhere, that I'm working on Twitter and Instagram as well. And that I am doing a book signing, hopefully, in Nyack Library and other places.
Yeah, did you hear that, everyone? Say it once again.
I don't know what the date is yet for a book signing at Nyack Library in Nyack, New York. If you check on their website in the next month or so, you'll probably be able to come and check out this book. I'd be glad to meet you and sign the book for you. I'm also doing a talk in Connecticut at the Churchill Assisted Living in Newtown on Saturday, March 21st from 11 to 12 on taking care of the caregiver. And a little bit about fall prevention, because falling is another biggie.
Yes.
And I'm talking at the Nurse Practitioners Association on Teaching Day at Bear Mountain, New York, on May 2nd. So I'm getting around to help all of us help each other be good caregivers without crisis.
That's incredible. So once again, this is Nancy Rhodes, nurse practitioner here in Rockland, but you also travel.
New Jersey and in Connecticut, so I'm in the tri-state area,
And
yes.
you can find Nancy on her website, which is...
It's caregiversuccess.com, and that's the YouTube channel too. Caregiver doesn't have an S on it. It's Caregiver Success. It's the same for Twitter, and it's going to be the same for Instagram. And please, subscribe to my YouTube channel so I know you're out there.
Awesome. Yeah, lastly, Nancy, what would you say about how our children are treating maybe their parents or the elderly? Do you think the elderly are forgotten?
I've seen a lot of wonderful, wonderful things happen in the home. Sometimes people find that they can't be the caregiver. And, that's okay, by the way. If you just know, and, everybody's not an easy patient. So sometimes that could really be hard. And I did have one patient where the daughter said, I just can't do this. And the mother went into a nursing home and the daughter visits her and everybody's happy and it's fine. So you have to look at the circumstance. Not everybody can stay home and pick in the garden and everything looks rosy. It doesn't always happen that way. And another thing that's really, really important is that if you don't take care of yourself, I have a patient who the husband died of a stroke while he was taking care of his severely demented wife who needed total care. And she's still 15 years later alive, and he died. And that's because he didn't get the care he needed and he didn't get the breaks he needed to stay alive for her and for himself. And so don't let yourself get burned out and don't die before your caregiving is over, and make sure you balance and have a good time and look for help.
Exactly.
Look for support in your community.
Yes. Would you say that there are resources out there?
Of course. Every Every country has their own. In America, there's Office for the Aging in almost every state or county across America. You can find out from your friends how they networked. There's a lot of caregiver support groups on Facebook and online, on Instagram. You just have to join it and ask a question. Last night I was on it and somebody asked, my mom won't keep her mouth closed to take her temperature. How do I take her temperature? And everybody told her to take it under the armpit and how to read the thermometer. And yes. I was like, people will tell you and help you, you know? You get on social media and you can get some of your answers if you can't get a quick answer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So in our last minutes, maybe you could share the name of the book, the website, the YouTube channel.
Okay.
One last time.
Sure. So my name is Nancy Rhodes, like the scholar, not the flower. Rhodes. You can also find me on Google as Nancy the NP. I'll pop up doing videos. The book's name is called Caregiver Success, and so is the YouTube channel and the Twitter and the Instagram. It comes in ebook, it's on Amazon, and it's going to be on Kindle within the next month.
Yes.
And I hope to be in Barnes & Noble, but I'm on the .com right now. And I may be having a book signing there in middle to late June in Nanuet, New York.
Oh, fantastic.
So I do put on my Facebook, facebook.com/caregiver success, any talks I'm doing, anywhere they are. They could be New York, New Jersey, Connecticut. And if you need me to come there and do a talk for you, let me know where you are, and I'll be glad to come.
Excellent.
And bring my book.
Oh, fantastic. Well, Nancy Rhodes, thank you for joining me.
You're welcome.
On Dialogues. Nancy's not shaking my hand. Corona. Yeah, air shake.
Yeah, air shake. Yeah. There we go.
Nancy Rhodes.
Or elbow hit.
Yeah, Nancy Rhodes. On Dialogues with Dan. Into my armpit. No joke. That Nancy Rhodes, Dialogues with Dan. That was a great interview, Nancy. And
thank you, Dan.
Everyone look out for Nancy Rhodes. Everyone,
thank you.
Have a great night and peace.
It's not just radio, it's Rockland World Radio. RocklandWorldRadio.com.